On this edition of the Tweet Show podcast, we're going to preview the Sweet 16 games left. We're down to the final Sweet 16. What am I doing? It can't be this fucking hard to do a fucking... Why can't I just say the words? Say the words! On this edition of the Tweet Show podcast, we're going to talk about previewing. Again, I just can't. I don't know what it is. Why is it so hard to fucking do it? All right. I think this is the one. This is it. This is the one. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. On today's edition of the Tweet Show podcast, we're going to preview the Sweet 16 oh my God, it was right there. Fuck. Take 10. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. On this edition of the Tweet Show podcast, we're going to preview the Sweet 16 games tonight and tomorrow, as well as talk about some other NFL news related, some MLB stuff because MLB is back with opening day, some robo-ump news and score updates as well, because as of this recording at about 1:25, there are some games being played, and there was a game played last night, but I didn't really watch because I was like, I'm good. I'll just watch some other games. It's only game one. Who even played last night? Was it the Giants and Yankees or something like that? Who even played last night? Yeah, the Yankees won 7-0 against the Giants. And I'm not going to do some type of preview right now of MLB because we have college basketball to be talking about. And also, I haven't really done any type of researching or done any deep dives on who's going to be any good in baseball. Because really, all you got to say is just the Dodgers are most likely going to win it all again because they're the Dodgers and they are going to be the best team in baseball this year. I guess that's sort of your preview right there. That's your recap or preview of what I think MLB is going to be this year. Some other news and all that other stuff. So I guess with that all being said, we'll get started with today's episode. All right, so we got 4 games tonight in the Sweet 16. The first game we'll talk about is Purdue versus Texas as the, air quotes, Cinderella team, Texas Longhorns, the 11th seed, facing off the number 2 seed, Purdue. Now, a lot of people are saying that Texas isn't really a Cinderella team, which I would agree. No, there's not a Cinderella team in the Sweet 16. And I get it, but Texas is an 11th seed. But I would argued that one, they're a Power 5, Power 4 school. They're in the SEC. They spend a lot of money on athletes and on these players, so I'm sure they're not the darlings of the NCAA tournament. They were basically like one of the last few teams to get in. They had to play in that playing game, and then now they got to the Sweet 16. Now they're trying to be one of the few teams out there from the first 4 to the final 4, which I highly doubt that's going to be the case this year, but I guess you never know. But Texas is in this position because they beat NC State. Speaking of NC State, they just lost their coach to LSU. He's going back to LSU. And then they also beat in the first round BYU. They beat AJ DeBanza. And then who they beat last round? They beat Gonzaga, who some people kind of thought Gonzaga was a little overrated this year. Not only people were buying into a whole Gonzaga type of deal. So that's how they got here. I liked some of their players. I like that Marks guy. I like the big, tall white kid or the big white guy on their team. I think he's got plenty of potential. I think he's only a junior. For some reason, I thought he was like a sophomore or freshman for some reason. But yeah, I like some of their players, but I think Purdue's going to be a little bit too much. I think they have a little bit more better players and more. They have Braden Smith, and I don't think Texas, and obviously Texas doesn't. So, and I think some of Purdue's size is going to give Texas some problems as well. We didn't really talk about it. I didn't really do a recap of any of the rounds from first or second round because of some scheduling conflict, and I was just because I feel like I was going to go on after the games, and then I just got really tired of watching so many basketball. I don't know if I was going to be willing to do like an hour's worth of podcasting of just talking about all the games or something like that, and I was going to kind of do it sort of on Tuesday or at least Monday or something like that. But I just didn't do it. So that's on me. Hand up, that's on me for not giving you guys more content on the tournament. But yeah. Anywho, Purdue's is about a 7.5 point favorite right now against the Texas Longhorns. And this game is being played at, is this game in San Diego? Where's this game being? I know it's in the West region, and I think it's in San Diego. Or is it Sacramento? I know it's in California. Where is this game being played at? Where the hell is this game being played at? Why isn't it telling me? Oh, here we go. San Jose. I was wrong. I was one of them. It's somewhere in California. I was close-ish. It's in San Jose, California. Here, let's see. Any other noteworthy stuff I should mention, Matt? Well, ESPN has Purdue winning this game give Purdue about 75% of winning this game. So you're telling Texas there's a chance. Like I said, I would take Purdue. I think they're going to win. I think they're simply just a better team. I think this was a nice run that Texas is going on. But I do like the idea of Sean Miller going up against his old team. And if if Arizona would get past Arkansas with a Sean Miller versus Tommy Lloyd matchup, Sean Miller having the chance to prevent Arizona getting back to the Final Four since like 2001 or something like that would be hilarious a little bit. It would be like just storylines. I don't really wish Arizona to lose, but I'm just rooting for kind of that storyline out there in a sense. But yeah, okay. I think that's pretty much it going to be talked about in here with Purdue and Texas, because the next game, everybody's kind of talking about it. I think these next two games are actually, there's some really good. Like the first two games, not a lot of people are going to be, like, I think some people are going to be watching, but like I think it's sort of the nightcap where people are going to be like wanting to watch, because we got Arkansas and Arizona and Illinois versus Houston. But like the sneaky good one right here, and obviously me living here in Iowa, everybody's talking about Iowa, Nebraska. Obviously, me living here in Iowa, I have to hear about all the Hawkeye stuff. So congratulations on making it to Sweet 16 since 1999. No one cares. Congratulations. This is literally the first time I've ever seen Iowa play in the Sweet 16, because obviously they made it in 99, and obviously I was born in 98, so I was alive, but I was about like 1 year old. So technically, I've never seen Iowa play in the Sweet 16. And neither of my buddies, who are also Hawkeye fans, have never seen Iowa play in the Sweet 16 ever in their lifetime. And now the good old question is, some Iowans are asking themselves, who are you rooting for? Are you rooting for Nebraska or Iowa? Because obviously, me being an Iowan, I should root for Iowa, right? Right? No, I'm not rooting for Iowa. Why the fuck would I root for Iowa? Fuck that. I'm rooting for Nebraska. Obviously, with the Nebraska side of things, because their head coach is Fred Hoiberg, former Ames mayor, not actually the mayor, but you get the point if you're an Iowa State fan or know college basketball. Obviously, he coached at Iowa State, played at Iowa State, all that other stuff. And obviously now, because he left Iowa State to go to the Bulls, and then he came back to college to go coach Nebraska. And now we're in a situation where Nebraska and Iowa, and obviously Nebraska having this historic season, sort of, or not season, but it's a unique. What am I looking for? I guess it's actually a historic season for Nebraska basketball, because obviously Nebraska basketball has actually never won an NCAA tournament in their first two in their history of basketball. And they beat Troy to get their first win, and they beat Vanderbilt, and that was a crazy game. And they were like one bounce away from losing that game, and we were potentially would have caught and got an Iowa versus Vanderbilt game, but instead we got Nebraska versus Iowa. And obviously, I am slightly rooting for Nebraska to win because, obviously, one, Fred, and two, I generally do not like Iowa. And I'm sure some of my Iowa friends are going to be asking themselves, Chant, why aren't you rooting for Iowa? You should be always rooting for Iowa. I'm like, no. I'm not rooting for Iowa. Why would I want my rivals to win a game to go to the Elite Eight? I don't want that. I want them to lose. I want them to lose as fast as possible. I want to get their hopes and dreams crushed by Nebraska and have Nebraska hold that against them for a while. And obviously we can talk about the whole football side of things and how Iowa's kind of kicked their ass in football, but that's neither here or there. I will say this is kind of a low-key underrated rivalry for Iowa, I will say. But yeah, like I said, I'm sure some of my friends were going to say, well, Chan, we're kind of rooting for Iowa State. No, you're not. No, you're not. I've already had discussions with some of our friends. I already got one saying, oh, this would be so great if Iowa won and then Iowa State choked. And they're like, fuck off. And I sent him like a clip of the in Training Day where Denzel Washington's character went, all right, you motherfuckers. I can't remember the whole scene, but it's like basically like a King Kong ain't got nothing. You MFers are playing basketball and Pamwa. I've never really seen that movie. I've only seen that clip a bunch of times on social media, so I don't really actually I kind of get the reference, but I don't really. So anyways, obviously Nebraska is a 1.5 point favorite as of right now. That's what the betting lines are. And like I said, I am rooting for Nebraska, so go Big Red. And obviously I have some family members who are Nebraska fans. But I'm also mainly just rooting for Fred and also Iowa to lose so I don't have to see them play again to having success. So really the main story is okay. I'll say this real quick. If they happen to win and beat Nebraska, one, it's going to suck. But here's a spin zone for myself. If they happen to win, it just means that Ben McCollum could potentially get approached by Kansas or UNC. Be like, oh, UNC, hey, Ben McCollum, you want to coach UNC? We would love to have you here. So that would be great if he got poached and just left Iowa to go to like one of these big time programs by UNC or Kansas. But Kansas hasn't really made a decision. Bill Self hasn't really made a decision yet. There were some rumors yesterday that he made a decision, then he got to come out later saying, I haven't made any decision. So as much as I am rooting against Iowa to lose this game, there's a 1% chance of me just wanting the storyline of Ben McCollum potentially leaving Iowa to go to like UNC, because that would be hilarious. After 1 year in Iowa, decided to go off to a better program. And then people are going to say, oh, well, Chandler, he's not going to leave Iowa. He's born and raised in Iowa, but he was a Hawkeye fan, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. If you get an opportunity to coach UNC, he's going to go. He might go. I'm just saying. But again, that's just me being a hater and a troll and a blah, 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 blah. It's very unlikely he's going to leave, but it'd be great if he did. So anyways, let's move on here to Arkansas and Arizona. We got this game is going to be really fun to watch, I think, even though the spread doesn't really say that, because it's about a 7.5 to it's about a touchdown score here. Arizona's about what, an 8.5, I think. At least that's what it says on this website. Let me check here on a different website to see if that is accurate or not. Let's see. So yeah, it's Nebraska. Or God, why do I keep saying Nebraska? Arizona is an 8.5 point favorite against Arkansas here, and I think Arkansas can make it close and can make this interesting, but it's mainly going to be because of Darius Acov. I think he's going to be the main reason why Arkansas stays in this game. I think Arizona just has too much talent. I think they have too many good players. Their front court's unbelievable with Kopi, Awaka, and that I keep forgetting how to pronounce that tall white guy's name, but he's good. So I mean, their front court is amazing. They have Braden Burries, he's really good. Jaden Bradley, Big 12 Player of the Year. Just a clutch player. I think they're just going to be too much for Arkansas. But if Arkansas does win, I think they're going to have to shoot the three ball really well, and Arizona just going to have to not to shoot the three ball well today, and they're only going to have to make Arizona shoot the outside ball and not have to play inside the post. Because I think if Arizona gets points in the paints and they're just dominating in the paint, then I think Arkansas is not going to really win this game, because I think that Arizona's bigs are way much better than Arkansas's bigs right now. And I think Arkansas's bigs are pretty good, but I think Arizona's are just way much better than that Brazil guy and who's the other kid? I can't think of his name, but anyways, so yeah. I would take honestly, I thought about taking Arkansas with the points, but I would just say just take Arizona and don't look back. I think Arizona's just kind of on a roll right now, and they're just going to end up in the Final Four, in all honesty. All right. As for Illinois-Houston, we've got a home game, basically, for the Houston Cougars here, as they're going to take on Illinois. And Illinois is a fantastic offense. They've been playing some really good basketball offensively. Defensively, you can kind of question it just a little bit. But I think Illinois is just really good. But also, Houston is playing at Houston, and they could just out-physical Illinois here and rough out the game if they want to kind of slow them down a little bit. If they want to play physical, because Houston can do that. They can their defense is still elite, and Kingston and Sharp and Manuel and Uzan are all still elite guards. I still have questions about Houston's bigs, but I think they have been playing pretty well. I don't think they're going to be overmatched by Illinois' bigs, so I wouldn't be worried about that too much. But I think it's an interesting clash of styles a little bit, because Illinois is going to try and go up and down a little bit, but Houston's defense is going to try and slow them down a little bit. And Houston's offense has been pretty good this year. I think it's been better in the past for sure. Like if you watch like last year's Houston, you would think that, or even like 2 years, I should say like 2 years ago when they had like Jamal Shedd and some of those guys, they would just play rough. They would only, if they score 60, then they're probably going to win, because the other team's probably only got 40 points. They would just muck games up. They would just make it look ugly. So, yeah, I would lean towards Houston on this one, just because I think, one, it's at home, and two, I think they're just going to be just a better team, as Houston is a 2.5-point favorite tonight against Illinois. But I think that should be a really good match. Well, that was kind of dumb. My computer kind of had a glitch on me, at least in the recording process, a glitch, and then my microphone didn't necessarily was hooked up to the computer. So then I had to like stop recording, get the microphone backed up to the computer. I was like, geez Louise. And I was having a good flow. We're having we're having consistency, no pauses or anything like that. But nope, this is why I can't have nice things. Okay, let's move on to Friday, as the first game is St. John's versus Duke. Now this is going to be, I think Friday's games are going to be, at least in the East region, are going to be electric. As the first game, like I sort of mentioned, was Duke and St. John's. St. John's is also back to the Final Four, or not back to the Final Four, back to the Sweet 16, also since 1999. And this is Duke's first, obviously they were in it last year, and this is Duke. They're the number 1 overall seed. They've been haven't necessarily played their best ball yet, I don't think, on a consistent basis since some of the injuries have happened. But also they got back their starting center, and they're still waiting on Caleb Foster, but I don't think he's probably going to come back unless they make it to the Final Four for sure. But I think St. John's can give them a game. I think St. John's could end up winning this game for sure. Because like if Duke isn't going to come out playing how they should be playing and dominate these teams, because they've been the best team all year, then I think St. John's can hang around, because I think their defense is good enough to stop Cameron Boozer. I think the bigs are pretty solid to go toe-to-toe with them, even though Cameron Boozer has just been amazing this year. But I think St. John's bigs can hang in there with them. As for the guards, I'm not going to come out and say that they're better than Duke's, but no, I'm not going to say that. I think Duke's guards are a little bit better, also, but they don't have Caleb Foster, but that Cade kid, or is it the other Boozer? I can't think of his first name. Is it Caden? Caden Boozer? Yeah, Caden Boozer. He's been pretty good. I feel like he's been playing at least well in this tournament, for sure. Obviously, they had the whole scare thing with Siena being down 13 at one point, having to come all the way back just to beat a 16 seed and being the number 1 overall seed, having a little scare there. And then obviously you didn't play well that first like 20 minutes with TCU, or even like 5 minutes in the second half. Then you finally turned it on a little bit and started to play better. But I don't think it's not like they haven't been like totally impressive at all. So it's going to be interesting kind of how Duke kind of is going to handle St. John's a little bit, because I think they're both similar, I think, for sure. Duke is a 6.5-point favorite. Even though I would like to win my bracket challenge, I think St. John's might win. Honestly. In all honesty, I think St. John's might win. Even though they haven't really like beaten anybody like good-ish, I feel like, because like at the beginning of the year, they were like not that great record-wise, and then once they started Big East play, they just kicked everybody's ass besides that UConn game so early in the year. They crushed Northern Iowa, and then they ended up beating Kansas on a buzzer beater, which that was a good game. So, yeah, I don't know what to really make of St. John's here. You know what? I'm changing my mind. I'm going with Duke. I think Duke's just the better team. I'm changing my mind. I'm going to go with John's side. I'm going to go against the Godfather and Rick Pitino. But I wouldn't be totally shocked if they lost to St. John's. I think St. John's is a team that could beat them. Because as for the other game in the East region, we got Michigan State versus UConn. That's gonna be a hell of a game. With Dan Hurley versus Tom Izzo, Michigan State versus UConn. A little bit Another interesting type of playing style, UConn playing through Terrence Reed. Is it Terrence Reed? His name is Reed. His last name is Reed. I can't remember his first name. I say I'm bad with names. I don't know why I'm bad with names. Because once I hear the commentators or people talking about college basketball, I know exactly who they're talking about. And usually, if I hear their names enough, I'm just really good about memorizing names. But for some reason, I just haven't memorized some of these players' names that well. But anywho, I think UConn. I don't know. I think Michigan State's playing really well. I was going to go with UConn, but then I'm changing my mind. I think Michigan State might. But they didn't play. They haven't really. Hold on. Let me look at Michigan State's best wins here. Michigan State's best wins are. Let's see. Michigan State. Here we go. They beat Arkansas. They beat Kentucky, even though that's not really saying much. Or North Carolina. They also beat Purdue, but they lost to Duke earlier this year by 6, though. So we could get potentially another rematch. But that game was in East Lansing. So I think if they played it again, I think Michigan State could hang again with Duke here. I think I'm going to – this is a tough one because, granted, it is obviously a 1-point spread, so it's kind of a coin flip game. If you got, because like with Michigan State, you got Jeremy Fears, that Carr kid. They just got some good players. And also, I think UConn is weird because I think they are a really good team, but they show moments like against like Marquette earlier this year, like just right before the tournament started, they lose to them, and Marquette's not good at all. And then they get their ass kicked by St. John's as well. So I don't really know what to truly make of UConn. I don't know. I feel like sometimes they're just a little bit inconsistent sometimes, of at least like ups and downs. When they're rolling, they're rolling. And when they come down to some people's competitions, they don't necessarily kill them as they should sometimes. But I think I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with UConn. Nope. I'm changing my mind. Michigan State, final answer. I'm going with Michigan State, final answer. Okay. As for the other games, we have the Midwest region, as Alabama's going to take on Michigan. This is an interesting one. Obviously, by me saying that, I'm just saying that because they're all great games. They're all interesting games. I think this is the dog. How's that, Chase? He might be back. Oh, yep. Good God, why are you stomping so much? This is why I need a new place to just record shit, because obviously people are just so loud, and obviously me being in the basement and all doesn't really help at all. But I'm sure you guys can't really hear it, but I can. It is kind of like, holy cow. Anywho, because like if Alabama is sort of rolling, they can play with the best of the best, and if they can hit their threes, I think they could compete with Michigan. But I don't know if they have the bigs to contain and stop Michigan's. So it's an interesting. I want to stop saying the word interesting because I feel like I've said that enough. It's a unique challenge that Alabama's going to have to face when they're going to go up against Michigan. And obviously Michigan is 8.5 point favorites in this game. So they're saying that Michigan should cruise and they should be the better team. And I think Michigan has played some really good ball in this tournament. They haven't, besides like that Howard game, that was kind of a weird one because I think Howard played pretty well, but I think Michigan was just simply way better. And like Howard actually like kept it pretty close for most of that game, and then St. Louis kind of kept it close, but then Michigan kind of pulled away pretty much most of that second half. There wasn't like any type of scare that Michigan was in or Michigan was sweating it out or anything like that. So, and I feel like Michigan's been pretty consistent this year, and they've been pretty good squad. I think I'm going to go with Michigan, and I think they're just simply just a better team. I feel like I'm kind of going shock a little bit, but not really, because I guess not. Who? All right, talking about time to talk about the Iowa State Cyclones versus Tennessee. Now, if anything I say on this pod cannot come back and cannot be used in my group chats that I'm in with other people, they can come after me and say, "Oh, Chan, you said this about Iowa State." And I'm like, no. Anything I say on this pod does not reflect on Iowa State's performances. Because sometimes when I say something in the chat, I have a couple of people that will get mad at me and be like, "Oh, Chan, you shouldn't have said that, blah, 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 blah. You kind of jinxed us." And I'm like, I didn't do fucking shit. I just said something. I was just giving out an opinion. Anytime someone else says something, they hardly ever get criticized or anything like that. It just happens when I say something. But that's neither here or there. Anyways, okay. Iowa State's about a 4-point favorite. Is that right? At least at one point. Well, now they're a 3.5-point favorite. It's come down a little bit. I think Iowa State's simply the better team here. I truly do think that. Now, obviously, we don't know the health in Joshua Jefferson. It's going to be sort of a game time decision. I'm going to say that he's probably not going to play, but I'm not going to. TJ came out in his little press conference that in the opening kind of was saying that he's making great progress and blah blah blah. It was like it's going to be a game time decision. I'm not gonna give you percentages. I'm not going to tell you that he's going to put go or anything like that. He is going to be a game time decision. So on Friday we are going to have to wait to see if Joshua Jefferson is going to play. Because I think if Joshua Jefferson plays, then I think Iowa State should win pretty good. Should win pretty. I shouldn't say pretty easily, but I think they should. If they play like they did against Kentucky, then they'll kick Tennessee's butt. But I think Tennessee's a lot better than Kentucky because we all saw Kentucky just play dead in the second half there. I never really thought Kentucky was any good at all. I mean, there were some people in one of my group chats who were like, oh my God, I'm so scared of Kentucky. I'm so scared. I don't want to play Kentucky. They're going to beat us because we don't have Joshua Jefferson. I didn't say anything. I really wanted to. I really wanted to tell him that, dude, shut the fuck up. We're better than Kentucky. I ain't worried about Kentucky. The whole Kentucky thing, you're just saying that because, one, they're Kentucky, and two, they're a brand name, and you're like, oh, we don't really do well against this type of a team or anything like that. I'm like, bro, shut up. But again, if I would have said something like that, he would have just went AWOL, and then somehow Iowa State would have lost or something like that. Then I would have got blamed, and then I would have been mad at myself a little bit, but I'm like, this is stupid. I didn't cause this. But Tennessee, I think, here, I had some notes from like my previous episode I kind of did on Tennessee, or not on, it wasn't like an actual episode of Tennessee, but in sort of my bracket preview I was saying like that their kind of their star player and freshman, Nate Oddman, is really good. He's a Tally recruited kid out of high school, averaging about like 17 points a game. And they got Jacoby Bileski from Maryland. He was really good at Maryland, playing pretty solid this year. And they have like the depth and the length to sort of give Iowa State some problems. I do think Iowa State, and I think sometimes Kentucky, or not Kentucky, I'm talking about Kentucky again. Tennessee sometimes is a little like, I would say like some of the weaknesses are just like consistent shooting and like, the half court offense is like a little like up and down a little bit, even though they play pretty well against Virginia. But I don't know if they're going to be knocking down like 10 threes again against us like they did against Virginia, because I think our type of defense is a little bit more unique than what Virginia's defense was probably giving them. Like they're going to set like hard ball screens. You're going to play through the post and trying to get a bunch of offensive rebounds. They've been a top 25 team all year, but like I said, I feel like sometimes they didn't play the type of Tennessee basketball they usually play at with Rick Barnes, and Rick Barnes has this little running joke that Rick Barnes can't win in March, or can't win the big one in March, just because he hasn't been to the Final Four since like before 2000. I don't really know. What was the last time Rick Barnes went to the Final Four? It was like 08, 05. I don't know. It was the year Texas went to the Final Four with him. Okay, let's see. Rick Barnes last Final Four. Let's see. Last Final Four. Oh, 2003. So yeah, he hasn't been in the Final Four since like 2003 with Texas. They lost to Syracuse. They ended up losing to Syracuse that year. I don't think that was Texas. Was that Kevin Durant's year? No, I don't think that was Kevin Durant's year, because obviously that was the year Melo and them won it. So that was a completely different team. Let's see. He's been with Tennessee since 2015. Still hasn't reached it yet. He got to the final. He got to the Elite Eight. What was it, last year or 2 years ago? I think it was it's been within the last like 2 years. He's been to Elite Eight at least and got real close, but just never got over the hump, obviously. But I think if Iowa State just kind of plays their type of game they've been playing these last 3 games, how they played against Arizona, how they played against East Tennessee, and how they played against Kentucky, and they keep shooting how they've been and playing the defense that they've been, I think they can easily beat Tennessee. I think they should be. I think they're simply just a better team right now. Obviously, Tennessee can come out there and easily beat us. I'm not saying that Tennessee can't beat us, but like I said, I've been consistent. I think if Iowa State plays the way how they've been, I think they can win this game and play like on Sunday against Michigan. So at least that's my opinion. And I'm sure if some of my group chat will probably clip something like this from this pod, and we'll just say, "We are cooked, Chad. We are cooked." So I could care less. This is just a pod. These are just my opinions. So, anyways, let's move on from the NCAA tournament. Let's talk some other stuff here that has been happening here. MLB's happening tonight, or today, I should say. We had a game yesterday, and we kind of talked about it that. But let's see some score updates real quick. Okay, we got one score up. We got 3 games playing right now. So we got the Mets are up 6-4, the top of the 8th against the Pirates, and then we got the White Sox and Brewers tied at 1 apiece in the bottom of the 2nd. The Nationals are up 1-0 against the Cubs as of right now. So those are your score updates. Like I said, I was sort of joking in the opening there that I don't think I can do any type of previewing because there's not really much to talk about because I haven't really done any deep dives on the teams and who's got who on what teams or anything like that. Maybe sometime after March or maybe sometime in like April, I'll kind of like do some more deep dive into MLB and we'll talk about it. NFL news, there could be has officially decided. Let's see. I wrote down here that the NFL has officially decided the tush push is staying for the 2026 season, at least for now. And then Travis Kelce signed a 3-year deal. I was like, is he really signing a 3-year deal? Is it like a 1-year deal? And then it's all front loaded, and then the back end of it's just like if he decides to retire after this season, he can just not. It won't be like such a big cap hit or something like that. There's been some like NFL draft news or anything like that, but I don't know. It just says like Mendoza's probably still going to be the number 1 pick. Everybody really likes the Notre Dame running back, Jeremiah Love. He's a really talented running back out of Notre Dame. And speaking of baseball, we could also talk about the robo-umps, how the now I think it's basically every team, every player got sort of measured on where their strike zone is and not just like how the ref sees it. So like I know how the robo-umps work, but I'm not 100% sure on how they work because I know if they wanted I think the refs or the umps still call balls and strikes, but if they didn't like the call, they can challenge to say, hey, that was a ball, or hey, that's a strike. So let's see. Any other noteworthy stuff to sort of talk about here? I guess I was going to talk about like women's basketball for a little bit, but there isn't like any storylines. It's just basically all the 4-1 seeds are kicking everybody's ass right now. There isn't really anything new. Once we get to about the Elite Eight, we'll talk a little bit about them a little bit more, just because I feel like once you get to about the Elite Eight, these are all just going to be the elite teams that usually play in the Final Four or play for the national championships. Like UConn kicked Syracuse's ass, South Carolina kicked USC's ass, UCLA kicked Oklahoma's butt. Not an ass kicking, but it was kind of like a butt kicking. And then who's the other 1 seed? It's Texas. I don't even know. I think they're the 1 seed, but I can't remember who the hell they played and if they kick. I'm sure they've been kicking people's ass too. So yeah. Let's see. Any other noteworthy stuff here? I think that's gonna be pretty much it. At least that's all I have in my notes of stuff to talk about. So I think that's gonna be it. All right. So I appreciate everybody listening to today's episode, and we're going to have this episode up and running by the time before the games start. So hopefully that goes all well. So hopefully there's not going to be any issues me trying to upload any videos or anything out there for social media purposes or anything like that, and trying to get this pod up and running. Because I think last time I was trying to get a pod out, I was trying to do it at work, and the internet there was just not cooperating. I was trying to upload the video, trying to get it out there, and it literally took like 5 hours to do it, and then I was just like, gee, Christmas, how long does it take to upload a video or something like that? So, all right, let's see. So, yeah, subscribe to the podcast on all the streaming platforms, or not streaming platforms, but every audio platform you got, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or whatever. And then so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm thinking about putting out some more like random videos out there. I'm thinking about it. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll just like grab all the photos and videos that I took in Kansas City and just make a video out of it. Maybe not. Maybe I will. I don't know. And then maybe I think tonight I'm really going to try and do a sort of a recap of tonight's games for sure. I really promise this time I'm going to do it. But if I don't do it, don't hold it against me. Sometimes these fucking games because the late game starts at like 9 o'clock and we'll probably be over by 11. So that's just like I'm a pretty good night owl, but like I just want to be like not be like half asleep or something like that. So trying to like talk about like the end of Arkansas and Arizona or Houston, Illinois. So anyways, like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel and subscribe to all the platforms that you usually listen to this if you're on audio, as well as follow us on Twitter, Instagram, not Instagram yet, but I am getting close to starting a Instagram page. Make sure you follow us on the new TikTok account, because the old one, like I sort of said, I need to make a video about the old one not being in use for the moment, because I can't log into it anymore because for some damn reason I used the login information connected to my Twitter account as well, and then TikTok decided to get rid of that, and I can't log back in. So now I'm having to had to create a new account and then all that stuff. So it is the new Tweet Show podcast Twitter or TikTok account that you can find us at. I believe it's just at Tweet Show Pod. I think it's the name. Let me check here. Let me double check here. Yes, Tweet Show, TWEDT Show Pod on the TikTok. And then I'll probably do the same username on Instagram, probably. You know what? I'll probably do it after this recording. I'm just finally trying to figure out how to create an Instagram page. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for today's episode. I appreciate everybody listening or watching this episode, and I will see you guys next time.